This trip just keeps on giving.
And with the four rotors, we always need a ton of weight pulled out usually. Okay. This rotating assembly and the way we're balancing it, I mean, this is the exact same way I've balanced my personal engine, which has taken it over 11,000 before.
Everything has lined up so perfectly that earlier today, well, for you guys, yesterday's video, we went to the Corvette Museum. We had a blast there. They accepted the four-rotor, the Aerovet in spirit. That means nothing without the heart of the car. We made it over to Logan's place, Defined Autoworks, to pick up the heart itself. Logan did a phenomenal job balancing the entire rotating assembly, but I could talk about it, but I think it's better to have the expert talk about it himself. This is the original four-rotor that I've had since 2015, but that doesn't mean much without it being balanced.
Yeah, I mean, for as balancing goes, one of the most crucial parts is getting all four rotors to be the exact same weight and spun on their axis, because the rotary engines kind of naturally balance each other.
Yeah.
Like a two rotor is 180 degrees apart, so those two rotors, if they're exact same weight, if they are right next to each other, would be no counterweights needed. But since there's a little bit of an offset, that's where the secondary imbalance comes with the counterweights. If you get the rotor weights exactly the same, you're naturally going to start with a more balanced engine from the get-go. And then the counterweights only have to balance the secondary, I guess, motion is what you're canceling out. And that is why on a four, you actually have the smallest amount of weight out of any rotary engine. I mean, look how much material I took off.
Yeah, this was, guys, this thing was a perfect, well, half circle looking thing. That's a ton of weight taken off of that.
Yeah, with the first spin, which you'll see in the video I took, it had 180 grams on the front and 75 or 190 grams on the rear, which is a massive amount of weight. So we just started taking off, milling it one by one until we got it down to within a reasonable range, and then you finish it off with the drilling there. I usually target 2 grams. On this one I went a little further, so it's like I think close to ½ gram and a little over 1 gram. So you weigh all the rotors. In a perfect world, if you could order them all the exact same weight, it'd be nice, but you usually can't. So this one found the lightest weight rotor, got them all balanced on their 3 corners.
Yep.
You take that weight, you add your weight of the seals, all the seals around it, all the rubber O-rings, all the oil control rings. You don't add the weight of the apex seal because the apex seal rides on the housing.
So I never thought about that.
Not in the equation.
Okay.
So you take that weight, you make up your 4 bobs, which you bolt little washers and everything, and you get it down to the exact gram, even on all 3 corners, and they just slip on and crank with an Allen head bolt, and they'll just grip the eccentric shaft. And once you got your 4 bobs on there, get your counterweights, put it on the balancer, do your first spin, see where it's at. Which obviously this one was exceptionally heavy. When you're dealing with 2 and 3 rotors, they're always based on some kind of factory assembly, so you'll never see a 3 rotor or a 2 rotor needing 180 grams, even if you're mixing and matching. Once you take that weight off there and you get it down to where it needs to be, last step then is to make all 4 of these rotors weigh exactly the same as the light one, which is where you take off the little bit of material around the whole entire perimeter, and that way it doesn't affect the spin balance that you already did. So you can see a little bit of material we took off each side there to get it down to the lightest.
Do you know roughly the weight difference from the lightest one to the heaviest one?
It's 40 grams.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're reasonably close. The 2 are really close together. I think they were like 10 grams. And the other 2 were maybe 15 or 20, but they were both heavy, and these were both light. So one only needed a very small amount of correction, and then 2 of them needed a pretty, that was close to 40 grams pulled off of them.
Everything looks healthy. I mean, because I've had this for...
Yeah, I mean, I've E-blocked it and checked the run out and everything. Seems nice and straight. I didn't see any kind of problems from shipping or anything like that. It's spun really nice and true. But yeah, I figured you'd be kind of shocked.
Yeah, I looked and did a double take as soon as I saw that.
How much material was pulled off of that. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is clearly an aftermarket one because of the spline.
Yep.
But this one, he also made... This is how we found out that this was my motor.
Right, it's from scratch.
Because it's from scratch. When you can actually use a...
You can use a 2-rotor, and then you just rekey it. So 2-rotor is 180 degrees, and then 45-degree offset for a 4-rotor, since it's a 90-degree phase.
Because on my billet 4-rotor, it is a 2-rotor one.
Yep.
And I took it off and then looked at it and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Put that right there. Keep it. Whoa. Interesting. Hang on. Shit.
Anytime I do the 2-rotor weight and rekey it, I typically try to put a little tack weld on the inside of the one, so that way if anyone in the future is tearing it down, they physically can't put it in there, just to make sure. So right here beside me, we got Rob Dahm's infamous 4-rotor. This thing has been around the world and back, and now it's he's trusting me and going to do the balancing for him. So this is the centric shaft here. These are the 4 rotors. These are brand new rotors out of a couple crate engines. These counterweights are made out of billet, and they're completely blank. We're going to be putting holes in them, and every once in a while you might need even more than that. You actually have to take a big chunk of it out. We'll see. Factory rotors have a little oil slinger right here, and that gets in the way of the custom eccentric shaft. So you have to grind that out, machine it off like this. Otherwise, these are a stock rotor. We haven't done any lightning or anything like that to it. Rob just want to use 93, 95. They have factory side clearancing already done for higher RPM use, and they're pretty lightweight. I found a matching set that's on the lower end of scale of weight. We'll go through and match weight them all so they're exactly the same weight. Once they're the same exact weight, make up these bobs here, and this will basically simulate the same weight as this rotor. You can't physically spin the rotor on the eccentric shaft. There's no way to fix it in place, so you use a bob weight to represent it. So in the videos you see with these spinning with these funky looking things, we also will spin the rotors on their axis. We have another picture for that to make sure all 3 sides are the exact same weight also. You don't want a heavy corner versus the other 3 because that can create a little bit of imbalance as well. Okay, so this is a full factory rotor, and without the oil slinger we got just a little bit of offset, but you can see how close they are from the factory. I've never had to correct a full stock rotor very much, so we got 2 grams and less than 1 gram. We'll correct for that now. Drill in here to compensate. You can see that little guy right there, this one right there. Not a whole lot, don't need a lot. Go and spin it. This is pretty much going to be the final spin. And there we are. Less than 1 gram on each side. That's well within any kind of tolerance that we're going for. This is rotor number 2. So this one's at almost 3 grams and half a gram. Considering that I've removed the oil slinger. If that was still on there, most of these factory rotors are damn near 2 grams. Alright, on this rotor, the weight needed to be pulled off right here, but you can't take any weight off, so we just pull it from each corner. So this actually took it there, and on the other side. You can see it was in between also, right here and here. We're gonna spin it again. There we go, 0.8. Okay, rotor number 3. Already spun it and corrected it. Weight needed to be taken right here, so we got some drill marks on that side, and then on this one here. Took a little from each one of those. 0.8. So, 4th rotor, last rotor. Go ahead and see where it's at here. Take it for a spin. Alright, rotor number 4 looks like it's almost perfectly in spec already. Just shows you how tight a tolerance Mazda really went. Just a tad over 1 gram and half gram. I'll correct it a tiny bit, but you won't need much at all. Look at that, 0.8, 0.5. Very little correction, just right there.
How old I'll be this year at 50.
Alright, time to put on the
See my
ball.
beryllium seats? Huh? See what's left of my beryllium seats? That's some gold in them there hills.
Alright, so these are the bob
Oh, you
weights.
see how big they were, didn't you? Did you see them things?
Get them all exactly the same. Get them all placed on the same area of the journal. Crank it down. There's one. Take the lightest weight rotor and make all your bobs.
But I just brass, so it's nothing was cut.
Did you put this on the internet?
Yeah, this one's for kind of a famous YouTuber.
No, I don't have one.
couple of my videos have 3 million, 4 million views.
I don't know how to record body work to make it.
A lot of this stuff is hard to figure out how to make it engaging. You film a lot of raw footage, and then you edit out a bunch of it to make it kind of dry spots, and just go over the main. So there's all the bob weights. They're all stacked on, lobes slipped on. This guy's indexed here. It's got a line, and there's a little punch right there because spline is, you can put this on any way you want technically. And that's one reason you have to have the exact four rotor you plan on balancing, because they're all splined a little different. Right there.
We got a big laugh out of that.
Everyone working to see if you can do it.
Alright, let's do the first spin. This is raw weights, not any drill marks on them. So they're pretty heavy. And with the four rotors, we always need a ton of weight pulled out usually. Okay, so we got 183 grams and 119 grams. We got a lot of work ahead of us, pulling off a lot of weight. You can see where the angles line up at here. Need it right on 2 degrees for the front, which lines up exactly on the top of this, so that's good. The rear, we have 26 degrees. Right there, 26. And it's also on the top of this counterweight. So at least they're in the right zone. Just, it's going to require a lot of weight pulled off of it. So let's get to work. That's right, head machinist here. He's going to go ahead and knock off some serious material, because if we do it with drilling, it's just going to take way too long. So we're just going to mill it. Here's the front weight after we took all the extra material off it. Sorry, Rob, for ruining your nice billet front counterweight. Nah, it's needed. Go and spin it with the first cut, see what it lines up at. Alright, we're down to 80 and 60. That's a pretty big drop. Keep trimming a little more. Here's the second cut. Secretly, I don't like round shapes. We're just trying to make a square out of this. That's our goal, is to make it as square as possible. Nah, it's needed, so we'll see how it goes on this next round. No wager on the balancing?
I'm a hillbilly and I don't give a damn.
Okay, round 3. Let's see what she does. 60 and 36. Getting there. Reassembling the counterweight on there. We took more of the mill. After this, we're going to start a small amount of material. Feels smoother. 32-13. Try it again. Still just with mill work. No actual drilling yet. 11 and 13. Heck yeah. Eleven and 10. Keep going deeper for a little while. Down to 5 grams and 6 grams. A little bit more. Raise the RPM just a little bit, just double checking at various RPMs. So we're at 4 and 4. Getting really close. So we're at 2 and 3. We're honing in on the very final. I mean, we're taking up extremely small amounts of material. You get down to 2 and 3 grams. I mean, we're just kissing it with a drill bit and actually just polishing, just like light hand sanding on there to basically take off tiny amounts of material. So this rotating assembly and the way we're balancing it, I mean, this is the exact same way I balanced my personal engine, which, you know, goes up. I've taken it over 11,000 before. This is going to be more than safe for Rob and whatever he's going to be doing with it. We're definitely chasing the microscopic amounts of imbalance at this point, but we'll go ahead and do it just a tad more. This is probably the final balance here, I'd say. We're at 1.8, 2.4. I took it just a tad bit more off of here. We're chasing the very microscopic amounts of weight. 1.7, 1.6. I typically only got about 2 grams, but we're going to go a little further. There we go. Less than 1 gram on the front, 1.2 on the rear. She's perfectly balanced, that's for sure. This is the lightest rotor. 43, 17.9, basically 43, 18. We just got done match weighting one of them. 43, 18. So we'll move on to the next one. So. Rotor number 3. We've been working at it here slowly. It's 43, 18.6, so it's half a gram off, which I can very lightly get that extra material out of there. $73, 19.7, so we're only 1.7 away. $43.19.
Kiss it again.
Kiss it one more time. There we go. For you guys wondering how much is half of a gram, this is a paper clip, and that's 1.1 grams. These rotors are half a paper clip apart. That gives you an idea of how precise it is. So here you can see where we actually remove the material, which is right around the perimeter next to the heat dam. So that takes out the same amount of weight all the way around. So these are already spun balanced, and then that didn't affect the spin balance at all. We just made them all the identical weight as each other. That's basically how the whole balancing process is done. So that's a wrap on the balancing. Let him do all the assembly and get this sucker in the Corvette. I'd say everybody's pretty excited to see this motor come together. And anything that I try out on my personal car, if it works well, then I go ahead and relay it on to the customer. So the engines get tighter tolerances. You find out what they do tolerate, what they don't tolerate. They know they're getting something that's been race tested and proven. I do everything here at Defined. Any kind of machine work on the rotaries, peripheral ports, semi-peripheral, Bridgeport, balancing.
It doesn't look like this anymore.
No,
it doesn't look anything like that.
That was way back in the day.
Yeah. Pioneer to me in four rotors for the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, you were doing it way before it was cool.
Yeah, before it was
honestly.
Cool. Yeah, I think there might have been another one in the States I was running, but you can't really, it's like hard to confirm if it was or not. I think I had mine going in 2010 or 11. I think it's 2011.
Okay.
So that was almost 9 years ago now. It looked like that, and just kind of updated the chassis and put a dog box trans in it. And then as time went on, I needed to kind of match the motor better. So that's when I did the crazier bodywork and sequential transmission. And now it's ridiculously fast on the racetrack. So I'm just trying to catch up with my driving abilities.
Close to one of the fastest in Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, well, for the class.
For your class.
It's ST1, TT1. And I was 1/10 off the record.
Okay,
so that really killed me to be that close. And I was planning this year to come out, and then of course everything got canceled.
Obviously, I went across the country to get this done by him. So if you need anything like this, not necessarily four rotors, but everything.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4, single rotor. Make sure these puppies go back safe. It's so awesome you can pick them up.
My troubles with shipping companies.
Oh, dude.